Hi, this is Jen, and this is going to be a mini documentary about the rare deformity of Klippel-Feil syndrome, and the abbreviation is KFS. And Klippel-Feil syndrome is a very rare deformity, and it's a hereditary deformity. And with Klippel-Feil syndrome, since it's considered rare because the fact that it takes both parents to carry the same gene. And Klippel-Feil syndrome, which I'm going to explain right now about the terminology of it, it's when two or more of the cervical vertebrates that are located near the neck are molded together or conjoined, and that happens during the early stages of development in the fetus, and also the name Klippel-Feil syndrome had its start in the early 1900s. It was named after two French doctors named Maurice Klippel and Andre Feil. And in the medical community at that time, it became acknowledged in 1919 due to the fact that there was a couple of cases with people with Klippel-Feil syndrome. But this disability does have a more historic background as well. From what I have studied, that one of the pharaohs of Egypt, Tutankhamun, which I hope I have the name correct, was diagnosed with a mild form of Klippel-Feil syndrome. And there are three types of Klippel-Feil syndromes that I'm going to explain, and I'll also show you one me who has a form of Klippel-Feil syndrome. And there's one Klippel-Feil syndrome which is considered very mild in appearance, but you suffer the characteristics of a person with Klippel-Feil syndrome, which is like constrictiveness in the shoulders and neck, and stiffness. And there's the one that I call the standard form of Klippel-Feil syndrome. It's when two of the cervical vertebrates are connected. And there's another that I consider it type 3, which three or more are conjoined together, so it gives the appearance of the person with the face connecting to the shoulders, and that one's considered another form of Klippel-Feil syndrome. And I'm going to show you the one that I have, which I call it type 2. So here I go. Okay, as you can see, I'm just going to turn my neck from left to right, and just to show you how limited I am and constricted in the neck. And I cannot really turn my neck as a normal person can, so I'm just going to show you. So I'm going to turn to my right, and to see how many few degrees I can turn it. So here I go. This is as far as I can go on my right, and now I'm going to turn to my left, and this is as far as I can go. And now I'm just going to show you how it looks frontal, and also from here. From here you can see how my neck comes here. How this part here, which is like where the two vertebrates are conjoined in this area. And as I was saying, that is considered a very rare deformity. I've been told by doctors that it's 1 out of 55,000 births, and also considering if both your parents carried the gene, which is very astounding with this deformity. And I hope that this documentary was part one of this mini documentary was informative. And if anyone has questions regarding about this rare deformity, and has any questions about me personally living with Klippel-Feil syndrome, that will be in part 2, which I will be recording soon. I have questions already considered, but if any of you or anyone here is interested in how it is with me living with Klippel-Feil syndrome, and including the abnormalities of KFS, which I will also explain right now before I go. Klippel-Feil syndrome doesn't really not just it affects the person's appearance of having shortening, but it also causes a lot of abnormalities to the arms, legs, even to the digits of the fingers, which is entirely true. And also, with Klippel-Feil syndrome, many, including myself, we all have a form in one way or another of scoliosis, which is always followed by with Klippel-Feil syndrome. And also, it does affect the body internally as well, including the organs and the respiratory system, and including the sexual reproduction organs also can be affected with Klippel-Feil syndrome. And and also facial abnormalities can be found with a person with Klippel-Feil syndrome, including cleft palates, which are considered when a person has Klippel-Feil syndrome. And including myself, I suffered a heart murmur when I was a newborn baby, but that was considered fixed. It was fixed it healed on its own. And well, in part 2, I will be discussing more about me personally, how Klippel-Feil syndrome has affected my life and my daily living. And if anyone has questions about that also, please feel free to ask away. And I hope this was very informative for people who study in the medical field or in the medical community who love, learning about new diagnoses and new extreme rare deformities. And it was just a pleasure talking about this. And remember, if you have any questions regarding about KFS, ask away. It was a pleasure to do this mini documentary of part 1 of Klippel-Feil syndrome. Hi.